Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to the LL3 podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful mountaineer state known as West Virginia. And today's date is Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. Well, it looks like they say 4 million people died, cases of COVID-19 in the United States, cases confirmed, and only 144,000 have died. And many of you know, I never said it was a complete hoax. And in good faith, I'm convinced it is a bioweapon. Some say it's intentional, others say it's not, but it's neglected. It was negligence, to be fair. And I'm not crazy about the government in communist China as well, and many others, including here, based on tyrannical practices. However, you always got to figure out how accurate the counts are. There's been reports of many false positives. Now they want to have people wear the mask, and I had to criticize Commissioner Geller for parroting the rhetoric, and he uses credentials as an attorney. Good grief. They want to think these people, in general, have lost touch. And vice versa. I always believe in that saying where Brian McConnell has to say, think locally, act locally. You always got to start, always got to have it on a local level. Too many folks want to go to the Supreme Court if nothing gets dissatisfied from the local level. It's irrelevant. You cannot exercise the incorporate doctrination or corporate doctrine. You got to go into other areas, state constitutions and all that. So, we always have to say in a political perspective, Q bono, who benefits? Absolutely. You know, it's funny, a colleague of mine decided to watch Comedy News Network. I had to walk out. To me, it's awful, stupid, lousy. So it tells you where I stand on mainstream media. I could take a dump and find out has more merit than what they say on the screen from their teleprompter. So we're going to talk about a couple of things on that. Well, this one here came from Mises.org. Good site, by the way. I encourage everyone to check it out. The COVID-19 Panic is a lesson in using statistics to get your way in politics. Always a saying, Q bono, who benefits? So the COVID-19 Panic, we'll call it. And this was what Ryan McMacken has to say. It is unlikely that pundits, politicians, and the general public has ever been so obsessed with numbers as they are right now. I speak, of course, of the numbers surrounding deaths and illnesses attributed to COVID-19. For in the months now, every new day is brought new headlines about total COVID-19 infections, total deaths, and estimates put out by models claiming to predict how many deaths will soon occur. These numbers have become a focal point of many politicians' careers. This is especially true for state governors and other politicians in executive positions who are now in this time of emergency essentially ruled by decree. New edicts are regularly issued by policymakers allegedly based on an assessment of the all-important numbers. It's interesting because when they have an order from an administrator or a city town manager, they consider that a law. I've seen a tweet on that from the Broward commissions. So I had to do a GIF format of someone having his nose grilled like Pinocchio and has fire up his rear end. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Well, we'll continue on here. These decrees may unilaterally close businesses, cut people off from important medical procedures, ban religious gatherings, or even attempt to confine people to their homes. To those who refuse to comply may have their livelihoods destroyed. The number becomes the standard by which all behavior is judged. Will activity X increase? The number of decrease it? for those who wish to engage in activity Z. They must prove that it will not increase the number. Nothing shall be allowed that doesn't have a good effect on the number. But there's a problem with this way of doing things. The number in question only tells us about one thing being measured. If we only have a number for that one thing, then we tend to ignore all other things that aren't being assigned a number. Let's check this out. Focusing on number one, ignoring others. Things get even more lopsided. If one number is being continually updated in real time while other numbers are updated only occasionally. We certainly see all of this at work in COVID-19 debate. During March 2020, much of the population suddenly became very interested in the latest COVID-19 totals. Johns Hopkins University created a website to show the spread of the disease, and Worldometer, a site normally only useful for checking the population of, say, Bolivia, began publishing continually updated numbers of COVID-19 cases and deaths. Models predicting the future course of the disease began to spring up. The ever-rising total deaths number then was compared against the predictions of the models, such as the Imperial College London model predicting more than 2 million deaths in the United States. This immediately changed the terms of the debate over what measures to take in response to COVID-19. Faced with rising COVID-19 numbers at Worldometer and related sites, and accompanied by news stories asserting that hospitals everywhere would soon run out of room, panicky voters began to demand action from politicians. Please, master, kiss the floor. I'll give up my freedom for security. Allah, 9/11, remember that? Please protect me, even though I can't take care of my own body and soul. Look at the terrible numbers was essentially the argument. This was followed by the phrase, do something, seen as their opportunity to seize vast new numbers, new powers had arrived. Health bureaucrats were quick to pounce. Quarantine everyone, they demanded. It's happening in California, Ventura to be exact. There is no time to consider the downside. Ignore the cost of COVID-19 shutdowns. Nearly overnight, the only numbers that mattered anymore were the COVID-19 numbers. When advocates for coerced lockdowns, business closures, and stay-at-home orders finally prevailed, a minority nonetheless asked, what are the negative effects of these measures? Right? These people were thoroughly ignored. They didn't have any continually updating, media-friendly, easy-to-access numbers on their side. In fact, the numbers that illustrate the dark side of the lockdowns and stay-at-home orders only began to trickle out, and without any online ticker to announce every new case. For instance, in April, doctors began to report that they were seeing more cases of severe child abuse, both sexual and non-sexual, than before the lockdowns. The lockdowns cut children off from relatives and setting that offered an escape from abuse. A pickup truck there. Moreover, the likelihood of abuse increased as a lockdown put more financial and emotional stress on families. But did child abuse receive much media attention? Certainly not. Child abuse victims have no dedicated website with a number that posted daily at CNN or the Drudge Report. We encounter a similar problem with suicides and drug overdoses, although there is much evidence that suicides, drug overdoses, and other deaths of despair have increased as a result of lockdowns. These threats to life and limb have received attention from politicians and media outlets looking to maximize fears of COVID-19. All right, so sorry about that. COVID-19. Once again, suicides, drug overdoses have no daily death toll relentlessly featured in media stories. These deaths aren't counted in real time. Even worse, perhaps, are the measures adopted by state governors that reduce access to essential medical care as a result of this widespread effort to deny basic medical care to non-COVID patients. Hundreds of doctors in May, organized by Dr. Simeon Gold, published an open letter to Donald Trump calling for an action to end the medical lockdowns. The letter states that the Americans denied treatment under COVID-19 lockdowns include 150,000 Americans per month who would have had new cancer detected through routine screening that hasn't happened. Millions who have missed routine dental care to fix problems strongly linked to heart disease, death, and preventable cases of strokes, heart attack, and child abuse. Suicide hotline phone calls have increased 600%. You can look that. There's a link for that, so please read if you want to, okay? Further complicating matters is the fact of many of the negative repercussions of lockdowns and business closures led to long-term costs. We know that unemployment brings high mortality due to a wide variety of ailments. Long after the initial period of unemployment, it's easy to ignore what you don't measure. Yet the impact of unemployment on mortality and mental health was almost entirely ignored. This was partly due to the fact that unemployment numbers are not updated daily as COVID-19 numbers are. The fact that 140 million Americans lost their jobs during the lockdowns and more than 20 million remain unemployed today continues to be treated as a minor affair. Any increased mortality that results will be labeled simply as a heart attack. No connection will be made to the COVID-19 lockdowns. Thus, the Gold Letter continues. Millions of casualties of a continued shutdown will be hiding in plain sight, but they will be called alcoholism, homelessness, suicide, heart attack, stroke, or kidney failure. In use, it will be called financial instability, unemployment, despair, drug addiction, unplanned pregnancies, poverty, and abuse. In other words, there will be no media-friendly website listing the long and lingering effects of the lockdowns. There will be no list of abused children, the destitute, the suicides, and the victims of drug abuse who couldn't get the help they needed. There will be no list of cancer patients denied care because their state governors decided cancer diagnostics were elective medical procedures, so they're non-essential, okay? It's how these douchebags think. I'll continue on here. Indeed, so unimportant are the deaths and illnesses uncounted in any government tally that politicians are now talking about. Another round of stay-at-home orders and lockdowns. Los Angeles city officials are threatening to impose new lockdown measures. At least one county in Texas has implemented a stay-at-home order. Those who supported these measures need only point to the official statistics. See, we must do something to keep this COVID-19 number from getting bigger. The number will be there for all to see. But the child abuse, the suicides, and the cancer deaths, there is no worldometer number to point to. There is an important lesson here. Since the 19th century, government bureaucrats, politicians, and other advocates for more government action have sought greater use of greater statistics as a means of justifying government interventions. In the marketplace, in this way of thinking, that which is measured is that which merits government planning. It is simply another illustration of Frederick Bastiat's lesson of the seen versus the unseen. As with most government interventions, the public is only interested in the easily seen benefits of government intervention. All the unseen costs of that intervention are simply ignored. Paying government workers to provide a service that almost nobody wants, that creates jobs that can easily be seen and measured. The lost wealth that results from such a pointless endeavor, that's hard to measure and can be ignored. But we're now learning that in order to be counted among the seen, it is not enough to just have an occasionally updated statistic. If we want our statistic to receive a lot of attention, it must be easily found by the public and be easy for journalists, most of whom the lack of skills to engage in serious research, to use. A daily updated COVID-19 death number will beat an annual estimate of drug overdoses any day. This is partly why the pandemics of 1958 and 1969 received so much less attention, even though the 1958 pandemic remains deadlier than the current pandemic. Those pandemics had no website, no concerted media effort to maximize attention pay to a daily mounting death toll. So, this is why Kio Bono, who benefits? Tyrannical douchebags, politicians, bureaucrats, and multinational corporations, including Big Pharma. They benefit the most. Exploitation 101. Remember that, folks. Propaganda, mind control, all that good stuff. And some people still will go, shut down the state, we gotta shut down the county, I support wearing a mask, I will pull down my pants and make sure I'm safe, because the government tells me so, even though you have the same parroting rhetoric. Exactly. Give me a break, folks. Many of you out there do have a brain and can contemplate for yourselves. There's lots of great information pertaining to the mask. I posted one today from Garth Ike, talking about this one Canadian gentleman, talking about the oxygen, how dangerous it is, have the mask on, and he went by OSHA standards, and you can look it up yourself, OSHA.gov, and you can learn all about oxygen. Don't be shy. Hey, open records. Don't listen to those idiots, those Huey and Deweys on the news tell you something. They're coming from a teleprompter. That's their job. They don't want you to contemplate. They want you to be down for, okay, master, I'll do as I say. Oh, and please, folks, always remain vigilant on your health. The truth of the matter is, fear is a great weapon and benefits government. Samuel Adams warned us about this. There, folks, I know a lot of you folks out there are learning about this, and revolts are happening. And speaking of that, article came out today. A friend of mine sent this on our Facebook page. Thank you, Aaron. I love you. Hopefully you and your clan are doing well. And this one here came out today. Hold on, let's get out. From the Orlando Sentinel. It says here, new lawsuit says Broward County emergency order violates constitutional rights. This is by Brooke Baitinger from Sun Sentinel. A man who signed a protest against beach closures on July 4th, who was in custody last week at a Broward County news conference, is back with a new complaint against the county's latest emergency order, which he says is unconstitutional. Chris Nelson, a Fort Lauderdale resident behind the group Reopen South Florida, said he intends to file a lawsuit against the county's order this week. See, you don't say, you do. Okay? Not intent. You have it right there. Then you make that report. Mr. Nelson, I say that out of love. His complaints refer to Section 4A of the order, which says that the residents of single or multifamily homes must enforce mask mandates on their property, including when they have guests over. That's totally ludicrous, okay? So what this is saying is the property owner is responsible for telling everybody, any person in that property, including family plus guests, that they have to wear a mask, Nelson said. So basically, if I want to have anybody come over to my house, I have to ensure they wear a mask, and if they don't, my neighbor's suspects, and I'm not on and calls the cops. I'm subject to a legal fine for not masking people in my own house. Wear a mask. This steps way over the line. The clause itself states, Section 4, responsibility to ensure compliance with orders, with applicable orders, a residential property residents. All persons who reside on any residential property, whether single family or multi-family, and irrespective of whether they own or rent the property, must ensure that all persons of residential property, including guests, comply with all applicable guidelines on any Broward County emergency order, including facial covering requirements, Residents who fail to ensure compliance with all applicable Broward County emergency orders by such persons shall be subject to penalties set forth in Section 8-56 of the Broward County Code of Ordinance, which a person present and in violation of an applicable emergency order constituting a separate violation. So you can probably go to jail and get fined. Oh, it says it right here. It says here, a county spokesperson referred the South Florida Sentinel reporter to a frequently asked question, FAQ page, that explains that residents are in fact responsible for making sure everyone on the property complies with the guidelines of the emergency order, including facial covering requirements. The residents who don't do are so individually liable and subject to civil and criminal penalties. Each person present in a violation of Broward County's emergency orders constitutes a separate violation of a $1,000 fine according to the FAQ page. Okay? So, civil and criminal. What the hell does that mean? They get you one way or the other, right? Nelson said Broward County's orders violates constitutional Fourth Amendment rights that protect from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, and said it violates the right of privacy in people's homes. They have gone so overboard with violating the Fourth Amendment, Nelson said. The Constitution is still in play, even though people act like it's not. How do they plan to enforce this without breaking the Fourth Amendment? Representative Anthony Sabatini, Republican from Howey in the Hills, says he plans to file a lawsuit against the county's order this week and will represent Nelson's cause. I think this is just a blatant violation of due process, Sabatini said. People have a substantial right of association, and a reasonable expectation of privacy is a radical step in the wrong direction. Well, Stephen Geller don't see it that way, right? He's a commissioner from District 5, but he's an attorney. He knows more. Yeah, we know all these games. I can see Geller at this hearing. I'd be sitting there bringing my popcorn and laughing at him. Sabatini said the ordinance would also allow a suspicious neighbor to call the police on anyone they suspect has more than 10 people inside their home without the mask, and would probably give police probable cause to get a search warrant. I gotta correct that. I don't know if Sabatini said it, but you know how the writers are, they're a little bit more exaggerated and accurate too. I'll be very frank. It's an order, an edict, not an ordinance. Okay? Because who signed it? Bertha Henry. Thank you very much. Get your facts straight. Facts straight here. So, it is such an invasion of privacy, he said. The classic case law in privacy is you have a legitimate expectation of your privacy inside your home. The suit is the latest pushback against local governments' efforts to stop or slow the spread of the coronavirus, as Florida continues to report increases in the number of new coronavirus cases each day. It is at least the third lawsuit in South Florida over mask requirements. Groups of residents in both Palm Beach and Miami-Dade counties have sued the counties over the orders. Some lawyers, however, have said the laws have no standing, and the government does have the right to pass laws in the interest of public health and safety. It's not a law. It's an order. It's an edict. Okay? I don't know where to get this information from, but it's totally ludicrous. I'll keep it on here. Any state government through the 10th Amendment can make a law for which it constitutionally is questioned if there is a rational relation to a legitimate state interest, said Malik Lay, an attorney and former law teacher. Some of these people, I'll just keep going here. It's like Bizarro's my Lord and Savior. Hearsay is truth, fact is fiction. All right, so I'm going to continue on here. In this case, the state has an interest in public safety. During the pandemic, Bill of Rights freedoms are often denied, so as long there exists a legitimate reason. Government limitations on freedom in the interest of safety and health already exist, such as a minimum drinking age, fire codes, and speed limits. He's using defense mechanized rhetoric. Okay, using defense mechanized rhetoric. Lee said a person cannot run a red light because they want to express themselves through speed. Oh yeah, and pigs fly. Thank you, Counsel Lee. Even though Eddie Haskell's an asshole, he's still my best friend, right? Tell him I'm Wally Cleaver. I'm sorry. I just get a good laugh at these people, okay? Lawsuit asked the judge to declare the order unconstitutional. Sabatini said. Broward County Mayor Dale Holness said the county's attorney's office will deal with any lawsuits. Well, here's the thing, okay? There's some fallacies, flaws in here. Okay, it's nice to use the Bill of Rights, U.S. Constitution. That's the corporate doctrine. You got to focus more on the state constitution. Okay, and I talked about this in my last show. Article 1, Section 2, basic rights. Your natural born rights are considered inalienable. Certain ones. All right, and we got to go through due process. Article 1, Section 9, which is Declaration of Rights, by the way, Article 1. And of course, prohibited laws or invalid contracts, which is Article 1, Section 10, and Article 1, Section 12. Legal searches and seizures, equivalent to the Fourth Amendment. We go under Section 17, which is entitled Cruel and Unusual Punishment. All right, and the right of privacy on Section 23. Okay, and remember, here's the thing: the commissioners and even the administrator and the county attorney have an oath to protect and defend both the U.S. and Florida constitutions. Article 2, Section 5, and there are registered voters. Same thing. I've used this on them one time. Okay? And I'm not here to toot my horn. But it can be done. All right? And another thing I did too, I threw it at people. They passed a resolution pertaining to affirming all civil rights to Broward County residents. All right, it came out May 6, 2000. Even though it focused on two items, the Patriot Act and the Florida Powers Health Act, but it goes deeper than that. All you got to do is read it. And I already posted this on there yesterday on my last episode. So please feel free to look at that and share it. I'm going to have to send them some information on this as well. Folks, use the state constitution, not the U.S., with all due respect. You focus on the state level, challenge it on those merits. Because the truth of the matter is, folks, like I said before, the order is meek and unmerited. Plain and simple. And the question to the Bertha Henry and the many of them in the Broward commissioners and the lawyers: are you bought and paid for by Big Pharma? Are you owned by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Just a question. I'm not making any claims. Observe responsibly, folks. Support this man. I'm going to have to send information to these people as well. Give them lots of intellectual ammunition. And trust me, that's what they need. If you want to support them, please do so. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share it through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, if you send something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. In addition, if you want to donate, you can hit me at paypal.me/LokiLuck3, number 3 altogether. Just let you folks know, these articles I've narrated under the fair use. So, support these people. If you want to give me some love, that'd be awesome. All right. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.